And we are rolling.
Yes, great.
So hi Kilder, nice to see you here on the channel.
Nice to be here as well, Dennis. Thanks for the invitation.
And today we're gonna talk about Agile beyond frameworks, right?
Yes, exactly. Let's see how it rolls.
You wanted to start the discussion with the kind of general conversation about the Agile, uh, what it is, a bit of a history, I guess. Should we do that?
Yes, great. You see, when we start talking about Agile, Scrum, Kanban, or everything else that is in these words and these approaches and stuff, there are lots of doubts. Just like, I see. So Agile is a Scrum. When you are working Scrum, you are putting Agile there. Or how much Agile can I be if I do this or do that and Scrum? So there are lots of doubts. Yeah. So what I like to start thinking here is how those things relate to each other, right? So I always like to start talking about Agile itself because it's just like the bigger picture. You know, I always say it like that. Um, Agile is in the mind. You know, it's things that drives you to action. They say how you how you should approach things or problems or situations or solutions. They don't say how. Yeah, the how you do that. They say to you.
Kind of set you for beliefs and kind of your
Yes,
mindset rather than specific actions, right?
exactly. The words is specifically this one mindset. You know, it's a way that you turn on your mind and make you like thinking towards something. So this is why the agile itself is pretty simple. It's composed by those 4 values and 12 principles. So,
By the way, just a remark, and this is like a good historical moment.
mhm,
Yesterday, there was 25 years anniversary of an Agile,
exactly.
and we have got the new Agile. No, it's not an Agile
No, the
manifesto.
Scrum Guide.
It's the new Scrum Guide, which is updated.
Mhm,
And now it's like,
exactly.
if you disregard the forward, if you disregard the page of like a table of contents, it's like 11 pages in total, I think.
Exactly. No, not 11. It's 13.
No, but if you will take all out the like
Yeah, you
table
should
of
take
contents
yeah,
and
the
everything, then it's
cover, the yeah,
exactly.
it's linear. It's 11 pages. You're
It's
right.
crazy. This is excellent. I mean, from
Mhm.
100 something, they have slimmed it down to such a small amount.
Exactly. And this is great, you know, because it makes we are talking about lean thinking, yeah, to think about not having lots of garbage, let's say, and try to avoid lots of and disposal and stuff. So when you get this guide that was already very thin, it was just like 17 pages before, and you remove excess of this, you're saying just like, yes, we can be even leaner than we were before. Yeah, when we're talking specifically about Scrum. So simplicity, yeah, is a principle of Agile, is one of the 12 principles. So one thing that was already simple, how can I make it even more simpler? This is very Agile for me. At least I can see this, and the only thing I think it's, yes, Agile is more alive than ever, you know, and you can see that and driven to the framework.
Oh, this is really cool, and you're right. The Agile is more live than ever before. And
Mhm.
I was trying to join this. I was like 3 minutes late, and there was no places available in the conference.
Mhm.
Like 1,000 people, I think, was the capacity there. It was like just
1,000
taken.
people.
It's like took me 2 minutes to get in. I think when people like this peak, and then people started to drop out a bit,
Mhm.
and then it was quite cool.
Yeah. Did you watch it everything?
Yeah, it was quite long, but I've managed to get through the whole of it. It's
I
quite
watched
nice to see.
just parts of that. I thought that I will attend to the guide itself. No, have my own considerations there. I didn't. I avoided the presentation.
They have pretty a couple of nice people there, talking
Mm-hmm.
about the how do you run teams, how do you run it as a product owner. I think there was a conversation about what about Scrum Masters? Do you need those? Can you combine those? That was the Jeff Sutherland who was talking about that. Like he saw that Scrum Masters and product owners more often became one person, and he said that for specific cases, for very small teams, that
Mm-hmm.
is working fine, but for the other setups, I think he said that it's yeah, maybe not the best
Yeah.
setup.
And this is a nice point you have there now. I saw one part that drove more of my attention from the guide was a particular change of approach from the product owner. You know, in the other guide, it said that the product owner was responsible for the product. Yes, this is correct. This is still the same thing, but it sounded like the product owner is responsible for saying what the team shall do in the planning and what the team shall do during the next sprint. You know, having this new Scrum guide that is released yesterday, it's pretty specific there now that the product owner shall attend only to the backlog and to the product objective and to the like the product roadmap. You know, this is the focus where the product owner shall have his actions and his mind, where he is driven to, while the sprint planning itself is now a developer's responsibility. It says it's pretty predictable there in the guide itself. It says the developer, and it's another thing. It's not anymore the dev team. It's developers. It's very specific now because it's not only driven to software anymore. When you're talking about developers, we are talking about anyone delivering and working to develop any kind of service or product or stuff. So we are not talking about teams inside a team. You know, there's only one team now, the Scrum team, and the developers inside of it. And their developers itself now they are responsible for the planning and for the sprint backlog itself. So the dynamics here, at least now, is pretty clear how they are supposed to work. The product owner tells the sprint goal, and to attain the goal, the developers shall tell him how to do that based on the product backlog. This is amazing. This is
It's pretty cool. And I mean, the new stuff that they put focus on, and especially the thing about the developers, the way how I understood it is that they saw over these years that Scrum is spread into many other areas rather than software development. They've mentioned like, they said something like about having it on the oil rigs, having it like in accounting and all sorts of like business areas. And that's why they also said the definition of a developer have like changed. Now we're talking not about software developers, but anyone who makes something to achieve the goal is a developer. If you're drawing pictures as a designer, in the process that you're in, if you're sitting with a group of designers, you are a developer. That's how,
exactly.
you know, that's the meaning of it. And I think in that sense, if you are part of the development team, but your role is a test engineer, for example, then you're also part of this definition. You are a developer. You are part of this team. You are responsible for the things. It kind of looks like it's more, it's broader, and I think it is actually broader now. And it leaves more freedom for creativity. And that's also, I think, was a lot of emphasis on it. They have been observing the market, and they have seen many teams doing crazy different stuff, like, you know, having small teams having Scrum Master and Product Owner combined together, or like, you know, having teams which are like, you know, doing startups, really thinking about the the product missions. And like, those things have not been described previously in the
Hmm.
Scrum Guide, but now they have observed them and they have kind of left the space for those things. And that means they have to make it less restrictive.
Yes, exactly. Uh, I think that maybe this is an answer to the crescent amount of Kanban users, you know, because at least here in Brazil, it's very common for agile masters or agile enthusiasts to start using Scrum and start like asking why is Scrum so prescriptive, you know? Because Scrum is like it says everything you have to do on how you have to do on the order you have to do. So this is great, but sometimes you have an environment so complex and so chaotic that you can't fit all the events of Scrum and all the papers of Scrum and neither the artifacts of Scrum. So uh, I feel like some people feel I feel their feel, you know, like they are saying that I can't do everything from Scrum. So if I can't do everything from Scrum, this is not Scrum, and this is a lie, you know, because the truth is that you have to understand all the events, papers, and artifacts from Scrum, and upon that you have to reflect what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
I really like the way how Henrik Nieberg once put it somewhere. He said that you don't have to be afraid of not doing Scrum, like, and he called it Scrum, but we're doing
Scrum, but
Scrum, but da da da
hmm
da da. And
uh-huh.
this is the right way to do it, exactly as you say.
Exactly. You have to adapt. It says every time when you start reading Scrum, I think that most of the people go straight to the house. You know, how I do the planning, how I do the review, how I do the retrospective, how the product owner shall attend to stuff and the Scrum Master, but they forget to read the starts, the pillars of Scrum and the values of Scrum. One of the three pillars of Scrum, they say just like transparency, um, inspect, and adapt. Those are the pillars, you know. So when you are working on those three pillars, it's pretty straightforward. You make everything transparent. You inspect it, it works, then you keep it, you improve it. It doesn't work, you try to improve it or you avoid it. It's quite simple.
And
You
they
know,
put a paragraph on each of that in the new Scrum
exactly,
Guide. That's so funny.
exactly.
It's pretty
This
cool.
is awesome. You know, this is
Mm.
very value forward. You know, value driven. I mean, because it says I'm just like I'm providing you a framework. I'm telling you how to work. See if it works. If it doesn't, you use only what works for you. You know, this is great. So I don't sometimes speak on link offs and other meetings that we have here in the agile community in Brazil. I speak this out loud. I say, why can't I not use some tools from Scrum? If I don't do that, it's not Scrum. No, it is Scrum.
It might not even be Scrum, but it will be
Yeah,
still an agile way of working. And I think
exactly.
that is more important than following or like, following the Scrum,
Hmm.
because doing something to comply to methodology is not the right way of doing it. You are
Hmm.
employing the methodology to achieve your goals. And if you do that,
Exactly.
then you're great.
Hmm.
Um, and I have an argument, like not an argument, but I can understand why some people follow the book. And I think this is the way how you start pretty much everything in your life. And
Hmm.
that's how you start, like, if you're doing martial arts, there's this concept of Shuhari. When you first try to repeat something and try to make it excellent, then you kind of exploit it and explore it, and then you forget it.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's quite natural for you to start copying or mimicking something. and that's where you do Scrum by the book, right? You're trying to follow it, you're trying to understand it, you're getting uncomfortable, and then you're trying to understand what makes you feel uncomfortable. And when you're there, you understood it, then you try to kind of remove that and adapt to your reality. And at the later stage, you will experiment, you will use it, you will use the tool just as you need it. And if you don't need to use all of it, then you'll ditch it and you'll use some part of the other tool or framework. Like, you've mentioned Kanban, which is another great way of organizing work for the tasks, right? Why don't I use something from here, something from there?
Exactly.
It's funny, we have gone quite a bit into the new Scrum guide, but we forgot to give you a bit of a highlights to tell about yourself.
Oh, yeah, we started and went. This is exactly just like me. We start talking and sometimes I forget. So yes, I'm Kilder. I've been working in IT in like 10 years now. Yeah. Most part of it have been working with support, from help desks and other kinds of support. Now I'm working with support again, but support for the developers, because I think that being supportive for the team and for the company is the key for being a good Scrum Master, which is what I'm doing exactly right now. I'm a Scrum Master for the commercial tools in Scania, Latin America. Yeah. And
So
I
servant
think
leader.
that's it. Yeah, servant leader, exactly.
Oh, that's excellent. And of course, I could see that you have quite a lot of artifacts behind yourself.
You see?
Yes.
hmm
Some bobbleheads and some comic heroes. I guess
Yes.
this tells for your interests.
Yes, this tells about little about me. Yes, I love reading, as you can see here. This is those are most comics, comics and graphic novels, not only superhero stuff, but I have some deep, profound reflections here. This is very cool. At least I love some of them. And yeah, this is my crazy part of my life. It's a dream that I had from childhood that I worked many years of my life to achieve that. I've been collecting those for like, we are in 2020. I have been collecting them for 15 years now.
Damn. I
So
mean, when you gonna get a bit older, you can sell that collection and, I don't know, buy an island somewhere in Bermudas.
probably,
And
I think it's doable.
yeah. I mean, just enjoy the pension time.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And I could see there's a cookbook on your bookshelf.
There's what? Sorry?
A cookbook, a book for
Yeah,
cooking.
there are some cookbooks here as well because I love cooking. Yes, and I love to like go into details and techniques and different dishes and stuff. So I like reading about cooking as well.
Nice. And as we said, the Agile is, I mean, the cookbook for Agile, I guess it's
Mhm.
just for very beginners.
Exactly, exactly. One thing that I was going to tell about the Scrum guide itself and the like agile book of stuff is that it's the key difference between intelligence and wisdom, right? Because I also like to play RPG. I have some books here as well, and you have those
You'll have
three
to tell me
those
a good one.
no D I like to play D&D, Dungeons
Ah,
and Dragons,
the board.
the rolling dice. Mhm.
Ooh, that's hardcore,
Yeah,
man. It is a
yeah,
cool thing.
this is nice. I don't play quite often, but I like it. So there are those two attributes in your character. You have the wisdom and you have the intelligence. And how do you tell the difference between those two? It's easy. Yeah, intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Yeah, it's quite straightforward. Wisdom is knowing that you don't make a fruit salad with a tomato. This is the key difference. Yeah, and it works the same for Scrum and for Agile. You can read anything You can learn lots of practices, but the only thing that will tell you how to do or how to use or when to use is your knowledge. It's living, it's trying out and checking how to do
As
that. It's the empirism.
as they say, I think somewhere in the beginning of the new Scrum guide is that Scrum is an empirical framework or
Exactly. It says it's
empiricism
based
based
on
framework.
empiricism.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty cool. And it's
Hmm.
so true. I've seen it so many times when you try something and you like do it by the book and it doesn't work and you're struggling why, and then you just open your eyes and look at the reality and you say, well, it doesn't work for us. We have to do something in a different way. Let's try
Uh-huh.
it like this. And then after 5 years, some smart guys come and say, well, this is how you do it. That's the new Scrum guide.
Yeah, exactly. It's linear. Yeah? It's easier.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Uh, what bothers me a lot is, we will talk about different things, but what bothers me a lot is when we're talking about the agile methodologies. I think what we've discussed is bringing us close to this question, like, what's the difference between uh, being agile and doing agile?
Hmm.
I don't know if we can discuss that a bit, because I think it's a question that you hear a lot, and a lot of people are misusing this as well.
Hmm.
Um, and many people are getting scared by this. They're trying to understand what it means. So maybe we could just spend a couple of minutes here and try to put what we believe that means and what it is.
Hmm. The things that being agile or working with agile, at least for me, I think it's just like the same, yeah, but it doesn't have the same value. How can I'll try to put that in the way that I can see that. Um, when you work with agile itself, I think you are like you are thinking too much on how to work, you know, and everyone that is agile right now one day worked with agile, because they were just like all the moment thinking on how to approach, how to think, trying to remember the values, the principles and stuff. So it's not like natural, every time you have to stop and say, okay, now I have to make a decision. What shall what what will grant me more value right now? Yeah, it's is like accepting changes or following a plan. Mm, you know, this is working with agile. You are struggling. You are having a difficult time to do that. And being agile, I think it's what comes after sometimes struggling with it. It's when those answers come just like, very fast. You doesn't have to think anymore. The answer is just like here. So you just do. It's natural. It flows, So I think this is the main difference between working with agile and being agile. So that's why I see different values here, because
So
one is natural. The other one is not, is trying to be natural. Probably it will be natural one day, but at this moment it's very mechanical.
mm, I agree. And it's when I first read the Agile Manifesto, it was very human centric to me.
Hmm.
And I mean, all my life I've been a kind of a, I don't know how you call it, a weird shit in the flock or something like that. I remember one of my interviews on the position of project manager, and
Hmm.
I've been asked like, so what is the project manager? What should he do? And I was like, I was maybe 10 years back or something. I said, yeah, he should do his best to help the team to succeed. And the guy was
Hmm.
looking at me like I'm stupid or crazy or something like that. And it's
Uh-huh.
not like that. But that dude got in touch with me after quite a few years and asked me to help with one of his customers.
Yeah.
And we kept good relationship afterwards. I don't know. It's weird how life works, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really very human centric, and what it puts in the center of everything, it's the individuals, right? And people who interact and who deliver and who create that value for the customer, for the organizations, and they are really proud of what they do, and they're
Hmm.
really happy doing that, and that's what drives them forward. So everyone enjoys the ride, so to say.
Yeah.
And that's very inspiring. I think now we have even more of that in this short 13 pages, or
Hmm.
14, or whatever, or 11. It depends on how you count, right?
Yeah. It depends.
So to me, it's like, when you are being agile, is those values, they are exactly as you say, they are in your head, and you have
Hmm.
been you've done so much mistakes that now you know on the intuitive level that this is the way to go.
Hmm.
uh, and that creates a problem when you are working with some teams which are maybe, or some management groups which are only starting to explore this area, and they ask you, like, why do you do that? And you are doing that because of your experience and your empirical experience,
Hmm.
and the books you read and the work you've done, and you have seen things working, and they're asking, why have you done that? And it's quite hard to explain that, right? It's quite hard to explain your empirical based experience to someone else
Yeah.
who doesn't have that
Ex-
experience.
Exactly. And this is why I think it's very hard for everyone to talk about agile without talking about frameworks, you know, because it's hard to explain your actions why you decided things the way you decided. And when you answer, I did that because I'm based on values and principles, it's very vague.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it's very vague when you say just how come? How come values and
What is that?
principles?
I
How
mean, you
does it
value
work?
something, how could you translate it to the real world
Yeah,
actions? And I
exactly.
mean,
How do you bring that to the real world? Then that's why you have the frameworks. Yeah, the thing I always say is like the frameworks they drives they drive agile without you noticing that mechanically. When you see, when you perceive, you are just already very you are being agile already when you perceive the values and the principles in the day in your daily routine.
it's a good starting point. And because the framework is so lightweight, it's
Hmm.
quite easy to start with it. It's quite easy to implement it.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to put to show that it's trustworthy, so to say, that you could, it doesn't introduce much risks to your existing process if you're running like waterfall in the organization, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, in that case, frameworks are really, really good. But then what should come next then?
Yeah. One thing that I can that I could go into already, like we already discussed that the manifesto itself, yeah, which is very value wise and principle wise, is how they flow through the frameworks itself, and why agile is not scrum, but scrum is agile. Scrum, as we were talking about already, has lots of papers and artifacts and events, yeah, and each of those gears is like part of a bigger engine, that when it's um, very when the maintenance is good, the engine is going to roll forever. So this is
And
the
that's the
key
key
part of
point. That's the key point. I agree.
exactly of understanding Scrum. It's an engine, and every gear shall be very well maintained to work properly. And agile flows through this engine. You have to uh, do the framework as they say, at least starting, yeah, having the pain points, the places where things doesn't seem to fit, so you can understand where you are going to have values or not there. So this is why Scrum is agile. and not the opposite way, because Agile is very straightforward, values and principles. And those values and principles, they doesn't have like a meeting to understand them. They doesn't have like a person um,
Just a principle, right?
to yeah, they don't have anything. They're principles and values. They're phrases.
Mm.
Yeah, that when you embrace them for your life, you are just going to be agile, but not you can be agile, but you can't be Scrum. That's a thing that we can have in mind. Yeah,
Mm, mm. Yeah,
and
exactly. So the Scrum would be the practical implementation of those principles, one of its forms, so to say, right?
mm-hmm,
Oh, that's a nice copy you have, man,
exactly.
there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. This is Zelda, Legend of Zelda. Uh, and sometimes I see that we have lots of people trying to have troubles applying Scrum and working with Scrum, and they transform that in what we call the Scrum zombie, right? Yeah, the Scrum zombie is that the zombie, yeah, not the Scrum zombie, but the zombie itself is this person, yeah, that when you look from far, you can see it moves like it's alive. It makes sounds like it's alive. It's dressing like it's alive. But if you get closer to it, you'll see that it's rotten, it's dead, and there's no salvation. You have to kill it again.
Damn, and it
So
stinks.
yeah, it stinks, exactly. So this is the Scrum zombie. It's the same thing. If you look from outside, you can see the guys are just having plannings and they have sprints and they work as a team, or what the community loves right now is the squads. So they work just like that. They have plans, they have deliveries, frequent deliveries. But if you go closer there, you're going to see that you have the people are feeling unsatisfacted. Yeah, unsatisfacted. Yeah,
Unhappy.
unhappy. Thank you.
They're
It's
crying at
better.
night.
Exactly. They don't feel trusted. They don't work daily. Normally, they don't collaborate. They try to big design things. Yeah, they do the bidoof, what we call bidoof, the big
Bidoof.
design up front.
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
okay,
the
nice.
big design up front. They don't expect and they don't adapt anything. They just do what Scrum tells them to do. You see, when you
Don't talk
look
to their
from,
customers.
yeah, exactly, stuff like that.
Don't have
They don't
anything to reflect.
deliver frequently.
Mm.
You know, so when you go closer there, you see that they have the framework running, but they are not agile. They are not maintaining Scrum with agile principles. You know, and this is a crime. This should be a crime. You know? And I'm not sure if you also are already heard about the Scrum policy.
No,
Scrum policy.
police,
Yeah,
Scrum police. Tell me more about that.
Scrum police. Yeah, Scrum police. Exactly. Policy is different. So it's
I
police.
I I, I had an architectural police. Been
Yeah.
familiar with those, but let's talk about the Scrum police.
Yeah, this is great. The Scrum police, not, I mean, not every time because we have to expect and adapt. But sometimes you need a Scrum police to avoid the Scrum zombie. You know, at least when you are starting working with Scrum. You know, you don't if you don't have a Scrum police there checking stuff, you can easily go to the Scrum zombie. But but if the Scrum police is very tight there, you know, if it's very like I am the policy and you're doing the Scrum the way I'm saying to do, you can easily go to the thing that we call dark Scrum. You know, the
Okay,
dark
Dark
Scrum,
Scrum.
yeah, it's very passionate. You know, you love Scrum. Everything Scrum is working. Scrum is perfect. It reigns supreme. You know, when you have this mindset like the dark Scrum, the thing you're going to have
The
is
dark
like
side of the force. Dark side of the
exactly
force.
you're going to collaborate more than you need. You're going to deliver more than you need. The things that you're going to be very different from the zombie, the people collaborate way too much. You know, how is that? How collaboration way too much? You don't even think, you don't even you don't even leave the customers to have doubts because you deliver everything for them. You know, you do everything that they were supposed to do. You know, you define the way they should work. You know, you inspect and adapt way too much. You are changing every week. You are changing something because now it doesn't look good. I'm not going to adapt. You didn't give it time um, to
Kind
to
of show
mature.
itself. Yeah.
You know, you didn't give time for and your new policy to mature. You just keep on expecting and adapting. You keep things way too simple. Sometimes you don't even think too deeply in the solution. You just give a quick and fast solution, and in the near future you're going to have problem with that, but that wouldn't be a problem because you are going to be very passionate about that, so you're going to change again because this is the dark scrum. You know, you're very passionate, you're very like, you know, in your heart.
I mean, man, like
This is very
having these notions, like the dark Scrum and Scrum Zombie coming from Latin America, it's like,
mhm.
damn, this is scary. You know, someone
Yeah.
could do a Scrum doll and pin it with those pins and oof.
Yeah, you have to be very uh, you
I'm not
have to be
sure if
very cautious there.
I don't know. I think it's in Africa where they do voodoo dolls, or it's everywhere now.
Voodoo, you mean?
Hmm.
Voodoo dolls? Yeah, it's on Africa. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stuff here. Yeah, that's really interesting. What about Kanban? What do you think about that? Because now we've discussed a bit the Scrum part of it, but I mean, more and more you see that the Kanban is emerging and it's getting popular. It's even simpler and leaner than Scrum. Uh, it's very visual as well, and again, there are some limitations there that you have to run it properly for it to work.
Yeah.
But,
As
how do you
for
see that?
as for Kanban, it seems like since it's not very prescriptive as a Scrum, and it helps you defining and managing and improving services and things that things that you know, helps you also finding out things that needs to be done and stuff like that, giving you and Kanban gives you also the visibility to the work that you don't seem that should be done and stuff. Yeah, we can see that Scrum is more based on values. You know, you can get that from the Kanban Condas book. You know, it's a free book you can get from the Kanban University. If I'm not sure, if I'm not wrong, I think it's there. It's
Oh, they
free.
have it,
Mm.
yes.
And Kanban is also very value driven, just like Scrum, but Kanban has even more values there. Yeah? And the principles of Agile, sorry, you can see them pointing to those values, just like flow. The flow is a thing that is very manageable through Kanban. Uh,
Mm.
we have uh, um, we have some Kanban masters. Let's say let's call them Kanban masters here in Brazil, that they talk about like about flow. You know, a lot about flow. And they say that after they started teaching Kanban for other people, they started seeing flow in everything. Everything's a flow. So if you think that flow is a value of Kanban, and it is, well, it is one of the values, you can see that working with flow, you can have just like 5 visible principles there. Yeah, you can have there when you think about flow, yeah, you have work together daily, sustainable work pace because you have to make your flow sustainable. Yeah, also managing and working with flow, you are easy to accept change during the during your way. It's a nice opportunity to keep and maintain the simplicity. And also it's a way to grant the constant deliveries for your customers. Yeah? Also a way to self-organize your work, to have face-to-face conversations. So the flow from Kanban is where you gather most of the principles of Agile. You know, this is the place where it's just like a
uh,
cluster
Along the
of
flow, so to
principles.
say, around the flow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's really hard to establish one. Like, in the large organizations, you have, where you have the tendency to control things. You have those quality gates.
Hmm.
You have all sorts of like control boards. And what do you think? Would those things, how do they influence the flow, or how do they affect the flow? If you have that experience.
Yeah, sometimes all those hinders outside of the flow, they shall be handled in a way they don't make from the flow at them, you know, and they start holding the river from flowing, you
Mm.
know.
Mm.
So the one thing that we can do I'll try to make an analogy out of it, is trying to make a gate on those hinders. If I can't flow everything that I'm able, then I can't stop things from flowing. I can and try to make ways to flow the minimum I can, or the minimum possible. And doing that is very difficult on our normal days. As I said, this is an analogy, you know. And during the day, what you have is that you go to a replenishment, you go through the Kanban replenishment, you prioritize your tasks, and you're good to go. You start working with that, and things start changing. So one thing that you can have in mind, that the flow is not going to stop, is that changes during the flow are deliveries as well, you know. Because just like think about that, you had a commitment to deliver a new button in your application. Yeah, let's talk about software, it's easier. You have a new button on your application. Yeah, it's green, it's a green button. You start working with that, you draw the button, you're going to start the code on the button. So, and someone says, no, you stop the button right now, I just need another button, a blue button that flashes the screen. Don't know. So you're going to say just like, yeah, I'm going to do that because priority, and it's an agreement, we have to stop and do that, and we're going to do that. Even that your commitment is not going to be achieved in the moment you wanted, you adapted to change, you know, because
Yes.
things change. So when you do that, this is delivery, you know, this is the flow going as expected. Changes during the river, during the flow, sorry, are just like dams in the river, you know. They don't, they're not going to stop the flow. They're just going to hinder it a little, but the flow is going to work in a different way, you know.
Uh,
The thing in nature, when I'm talking about dams and stuff, and the analogy is good because nature always finds a way, and it's the same with flow and combined stuff. It's the
that's true
same.
in the organizations. It's very similar. I agree. I mean, people will find a way to get their job done, but it's a shame where they have to fight this, like
Mm-hmm.
the system, the bureaucracy, all the things that we don't like, and that, that's why people are getting burned out and unhappy at work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm. But that's a very, very good way of saying it. I know that you have been working both with Scrum and Kanban with your latest assignments.
Yeah.
Which ones do you like? Which method do you like personally most? If I can ask you
Oh, this is very polemic. uh, to tell you the truth, I'll answer your question first, and I'll explain later. It will be easier. I like Scrum more, yeah, because I think that is more like it's more easier to do that. In reality, it's very easy to do that because you have papers, you have the artifacts that's pretty straightforward. You have the events, yeah. So when we are talking in product lifecycle management, I think Scrum will do great in the middle age until the early days. I mean, from the early days until the middle age of the application, because when you are working in this period, you have lots of things to discover, lots of things to develop. Sometimes problems are going to appear, and you have to solve them. You can start cadencing your deliveries in the sprints and your corrections as well. So I like the sustainable pace of sprints, But the things that Scrum doesn't fit for all the purposes, doesn't fit for all the contexts. So I'm working with Kanban now in a team, and I'm loving working with Kanban as well, because I'm feeling that with Kanban I can provide even more predictability for the customers, because we have lead time and we have cycle time, and it's like history, you know. I can look to my past and tell the customer the future, I don't have to go through a poker planning and estimating story points and see how much story points, the complexity, and try to make a very gross conversion to hours.
You're basically measuring the amount of stuff you have done over the past period of time, and you say, well, if the essence of our work will not change much, then that's how fast we will be able to run, and you can pretty
Exactly,
much put whatever you want in front of us. But then
exactly.
then I guess the question would be like, the stuff you've been doing previously, do you do like, the breakdown of things or not? Do you do like
Yes,
some sort
we
of
do.
grooming? Mm.
We do. We break tasks down. We go to the smallest possible. Yeah, and sometimes we aren't able to break so smaller. Sometimes we have tasks, bigger tasks. And when it's the case, it will go through the same predictability. Because the things that when you are working with cycle time and lead time to provide predictability, you are telling the people that this is the idea that we have. Normally by an average, this is the amount of days that we take to deliver anything to you. Yeah, sometimes it can be less and sometimes can be more. The things that we're going to talk daily to see if I'm going to be able to deliver that in the expected date or not. So this is why one of the things that I studied with the material I have here, called Agile Beyond Framework, is that and um, collaboration and comprehension shall be constant. You have agreements. Agreements is a thing that you have to do constantly. Things are changing constantly. you know so upon everything that I just said about Kanban, flow and collaboration shall be focused on the customer, yeah, with frequent comprehension and agreements. Because things are changing all the time. If I tell you that we are going to deliver you one thing in 6 months, I'm going to talk with you only when I deliver that to you in 6 months. you know we
That's
we can't expect that.
of
So
course.
the better approach we have here, at least when working with Agile, is that we have to keep constant track with the customer, always have new agreements. So yes, I can't wait this long. No, you have to make it faster. Those kind of those kind of inputs is very important for our daily routine as well, you know.
How would you run the project
Mm,
through the Kanban? I mean,
mm,
if you have a team that is working well with the Kanban board and Kanban flow, it's quite easy to assume that, you know, when the new stuff is coming, and if the stuff, as you say, like, you know, 6 months long,
mm,
estimated on a high level, but by architects or manager or whoever, or the customer maybe even,
mm.
then how would you talk to your team? What would you offer there? Would you switch to Scrum? Would you try to Kanbanize everything? What if you have that experience? It's interesting
Okay.
to hear.
Mhm. Yeah, talking if we're talking about project itself, I would always prefer Scrum. Yeah, because it's easier to I think at least I'm more comfortable thinking about deliveries, frequent deliveries working with Scrum, because you know you have sprints, and you can measure in sprints. I think it's easier to provide the user some expectations when you are working with those sprints, when the project is not it's starting, you know. Because you can say we are going to have one sprint to plan, and one sprint to design, and stuffs like that. But the things that it would also fit with Kanban as well, because you have the epics approach, you know. So the epic is the project, you know, or you can have a project composed by epics, you know, that would be also fit as well. So you have the epic, you go, okay, for me to do this epic, what tasks shall I need here? It's like let's put an example here. Let's say that we have a quoting tool, yeah, and what the quoting tool shall quote here. I need to quote fruit price, you know. So this is an epic, okay, quote fruit price. What else? I need to quote the price of, I don't know, the price of rice. Yeah, this is another epic. Okay, for me to quote fruits, what do I need? You need a list of fruits. So yeah, one history. You need to know the amount of fruits you have in stock. Okay, another history. And you go breaking, you know. I think that for the Kanban, you're going to spend a little more time breaking tasks, because it's more you don't have like this planning event or
But you can adapt, and
refinement
then you can
stuff.
have it.
Yes, you always can have that, but it's not prescripted
Mm.
for you to do, you know. uh, so this is a thing that comes from experience, you know. You can do, you know, that you have to do in sometimes it's important to do, but since it's not prescripted, sometimes you do just like that. So how do I start here? How do I start with Kanban? So that's why I prefer Scrum for those kinds of contexts, because it fits from the one that is starting and for the one that already knows how to work in this agile world.
What is, if I could ask, what is your approach to the first sprints of the project or initiative, where you have very little knowledge, very little information about what's going on? You have to do a lot of like research and R&D work. Your team is maybe like, you know, is someone in the team is still finishing something, and someone is trying to focus on this one, and like, you know, it's the situation which I think many teams are facing now and then.
Mhm.
When something new is coming in and it's big enough to bother you, and then, like, you know, if you're running Scrum, I think these parts of the process are quite challenging for many people.
Mhm.
If we could maybe share some experience here.
Sure, I can. Um, the thing that I like when we are working with first sprints, when you are discovering everything, I think that you have to reserve a time to exactly what you said, research. You know, how many days. It depends a lot of the on the context and stuff. But one approach I like it a lot when we did for a new project we have here in SLA, design sprint from Google. Yeah, that the thing that you spend 1 week just talking, having mock-ups and validating approaches and stuff. It's just like 1 day focused on how to start. In the last day of the design sprint, which normally occurs for 1 week, you already have your first backlog, yeah, of tasks. And the first sprint, probably you won't have all the tasks needed to deliver the MVP or stuff, but you at least have the answers that are going to start, you know. And while the developers start working there, they are going to provide you with some feedback. I started checking that we have to do this and we have to do that. We have to put a screen here and do this other stuff there. You know, while they start working, they are going to discover what else needs to be done. And this is the moment where the product backlog really emerges. You know,
Mm.
it's not from the researches, it's not from the main ideas or stuff. It's from the work which is going to be done. So the approach that I like to do in the start is this: is the design sprint. Yeah, there are other techniques as well. You can have some design thinking, or you can have some, I don't know, some lean startup, leanception as well. There are approaches is I think that we won't lack, you know, but the thing I like is the design sprint
Mm.
for starting.
All right. So then, getting back to our topic, agile beyond frameworks. What should we tell to our listeners? Should they use frameworks? Should they not use frameworks? Should they try to use framework, experience it, and then ditch it? What would be your kind of
Yeah,
advice here?
yeah. I think that if you are being able to collaborate with a daily basis with your customers and with the team, with your team and your context, if you're able to keep your workflow optimized, you know, if you're being able to see how things are starting from the moment the idea emerges until the point it's delivered, and if you need that, if you have all the tools that you need to um, communicate with everyone and make constant and frequent agreements, and everything is transparent, I don't think you need a framework. You know, you can work without giving names. You know, I don't see why you should just give it a name. It's very human related. You know, it's a feature from humans to give names for things. You know, but sometimes you can say just now we are working in an agile way. You know, one example I can give here is the Spotify model. Who gave this name for this framework was the community. It was the community, sorry, not the Spotify itself. Spotify just wrote, the Spotify community just wrote a paper about scaling Agile in Spotify. They just made it public, and they said, "No, look, we work just like that." And the community was just like, "Oh my God, this is very Agile. How shall we call that? How do you call this?" And they were just like, we don't give it a name. We don't give it a name. It's just the way we work. It's our model. Yeah, so Spotify model, you know. So if you're being able to collaborate daily, as I said, collaborate daily, make comprehensions, agreements, constant agreements and stuff, you just go be value and principle driven, you know. Don't try to don't try to fit things that doesn't fit, because sometimes you're going to spend lots of time, lots of efforts, and lots of mm, tryings, to fit something that's not going to work. So you don't need to you don't need to give this a name.
But here it's important to be still open for changes, because
Exactly.
sometimes you might run waterfall, everyone might suffer, and then you'll try to fit something, it won't fit because you don't have all those principles in your head and in your mind. And then you say, well, it doesn't fit us, and then the people will keep suffering. Yeah, as you say, if you're open for the change, if you're collaborating with the customers, if you're delivering frequently, and if everyone is around is happy, then you are agile without any framework.
Exactly. Yeah, the framework is great to drive agile in the start, but after some time, when you are just like doing all these stuffs naturally, you can, I won't say just like skip it everything and leave aside, but you can start not thinking about names. You don't need anymore to give that a name. So yes, you can start thinking freely.
I'm not sure, but we might run out of time. Today is going to be maybe a short session. Anything you would like to maybe wish at the end or conclude?
Don't give up of agile, guys. Agile is when we are talking here, it's because we believe in that. I started seeing some movements in the community saying that agile is going to die, or that business agility is a lie, or stuff like that. In fact, it's not. The way that we are driving transparency, yeah, and the way that we are um, delivery our work with more efficiency, and in the process being happy with that and trying to improve our works by ourselves, not depending on upside orders. Everything is related to agile, so that's why we believe a lot on that. So that's my message here as well. Don't give up on agile. Keep pushing forward, keep being agile, and keep trying all
Keep
the time.
kicking.
Yeah?
Keep
And keep
kicking.
kicking. Exactly.
Nice.
Always.
Always. All right, then that was it for today. And my little green man says, thank
A
you
little avocado. Yeah.
and goodbye then.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, little avocado. And see you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, man. Bye.